my son at the time was in kindergarten, and he had gotten in trouble for putting his hand on another child. That while they were in the cafeteria, he had reached out and grabbed a child by their jacket and twisted it. And so they thought that he was trying to choke the child. So their recommendation was that he could either have 3 days of suspension, out of school suspension, or he could have 3, what they called licks at that time, from the paddle.
So when I was 10, I came to live in Arkansas with my grandmother for, I think, like 8 months. I was from California, and I wasn't used to all the cultural stuff that was happening out here. And so I went into school and I would say yes. And I got hit. And they were like, yes, ma'am. And I was like, who says ma'am? And so I got hit again.
No, put your hands down. No. Now don't do it again. And sit down.
I got hit a few times, and that's when I was first like, why? They hit kids in school? I didn't know that.
So I remember calling my husband and being like, I don't know what to do. Should we agree to this? I can't miss 3 days of work because my job, I'm contract. So if I miss work, I don't get paid. I'm not a salary employee. And we just didn't know what to do. And I was like, I'm going to let you choose because maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. And so my husband was like, yeah, I got paddled in school. Everything's fine. I'm fine. So we agreed to let the paddling happen.
The other times I got hit, it was for childlike things that I now know as being late diagnosed ADHD. I couldn't control, right? So I'm talking too much in class. I'm distracted in class. And those didn't help me be less distracted, less talking. They just made me more afraid, and they made me shut down.
I remember feeling guilty, immediate guilt that I allowed it to happen because it didn't make sense to me. He was getting in trouble, and now we were going to hit him because he hit another child. It didn't make sense.
And usually the child is pulled out of class, so all the classmates know what happened. It's humiliating, it's dehumanizing, and then you're wondering why, if you have to keep hitting that same child over and over. A lot of these kids are repeat offenders. That means it ain't working. If you have to keep hitting the child, then it's not the child. It's something else that the child is going through that needs to be addressed.
So children in Arkansas are being hit in school for being tardy, not turning in homework, being disruptive in class, receiving bad grades, things like this, mispronouncing words, sleeping in class.
For the next couple of years, he did not even want to go into the building anymore. It ruined the relationship that he had with those teachers that did the paddling and that were a part of it. And he struggled in school and has struggled in school since then with feeling safe.
Arkansas is top 5 states where corporal punishment in schools is used the most. There's over 5,000 reported incidents of children being hit with wooden boards in the last school year, 2023 to 2024. There are 171 school districts that allow children to be hit in their schools, and 29 of those districts don't even have to tell the parents that they have just hit their children.
There is no scientific evidence supporting positive effects of corporal punishment. In fact, it's quite the opposite. There's a consensus of scientific evidence that suggests negative impacts of the use of corporal punishment. There is an indistinguishable difference between the negative socio-emotional impact of corporal punishment and the negative socio-emotional impact of adverse childhood experiences. That is to say that the impact of trauma on a child is indistinguishable. The negative impact of trauma on a child is indistinguishable than the negative impact of corporal punishment on children.
For me, I think the turning point started with a student that was really young, and she came into the office and it was in the morning, and I can just tell that she had a rough morning. And clothes, she wasn't well kept. She missed breakfast. She didn't make it to the bus. Parents brought her, and I could just tell the interactions was not a good one. So that led to a negative interaction in the classroom, which led to the student coming to the office. So when I noticed that and I was asked to do what I had to do, that changed my perspective. So I'm thinking, I'm thinking this young lady is about to get hit for something that she can't even process. And then two, this is reoccurring with this student too. Those students who I thought was making a difference kept coming back.
The majority of states have banned school corporal punishment. 91% of the public schools in the United States have banned school corporal punishment. Arkansas, and those 171 districts, are in the minority.
When we talk about globally the use of corporal punishment, the United States is somewhat of an outlier. So there's the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child that advocates for the prevention of violence towards children in any setting. A number of countries have signed on to this convention. The United States has not. In fact, there are over 60 countries that have completely banned the use of corporal punishment. And the United States consistently has opted to not sign the convention, to not participate in this group.
I grew up with corporal punishment. My husband grew up with corporal punishment. I was never paddled at school. But he was paddled at school. Our parents corporal punished at home. We were taught that a child acts out, you spank them, and then they're going to get better. And that was the complete opposite for our kid. He would lash out even more. I mean, it put him in fight for sure. And it never got any better.
So I had to really think about what else I can do to really shift this student's behavior, really shift this student into just connecting with the student instead of her viewing me as, someone she is associated with negativity, really. She saw me and saw paddles. She knew what was about to happen. I didn't want in my role being someone that she feared.
So my son, not on grade level for reading, can't write, has we call all the dysgraphia, dyslexia. And so he would be acting out because he couldn't keep up with his peers. And so I think a lot of that behavior came from he was embarrassed or he got shamed because he got called out.
So we learn new ways, we evolve, people evolve, cultures evolve, and it's time that we evolve past this old, outdated practice.
As you get older, you do a lot of reflecting and you come to realize that traditional norms that you've grown accustomed to, and then just your own research, and then you learn more about the brain and the science behind hitting. You grow to realize that the long-term impact as it relates to the brain and the research, it really does a lot more damage long-term.
I think the majority of the population don't realize that this is happening in schools. They picture schools as being safe spaces to send their children to.
In the environment that we currently live in here in the state of Arkansas, where the state mandates alternatives to exclusionary discipline, the development of a positive school climate, and the use of positive behavioral supports, all within we can call the larger paradigm of trauma-informed education, while also explicitly condoning the use of corporal punishment, we can't meaningfully develop a positive school climate while also using corporal punishment.
So my mentality now is always root cause. I always try to get to that root cause. When we see students that are, especially in the area that we are, which is Arkansas, that has a lot of students that experience adverse childhood, it does take a lot of work to really understand what our students are going through before they even step foot on our campuses and in our classrooms. And we do a disservice to our students when we don't recognize those things and we dismiss it.
Children are one of the only unprotected groups here in our society. If I were to walk out and hit someone with a piece of wood on the street, reasonably, I would be criminally prosecuted, right? If I hit a stranger on the street, that's called assault. But when we do it to a child, it's called discipline, it's called punishment. We have these fun euphemisms. Paddling, corporal punishment, give them a few licks, whatever it is.
Mind you, they can't just, hit them with their hand. That's assault. That's battery. But they can do it with a wooden paddle. Do we not? It's sick. It's perverse.
If an animal was to be hit with a wooden paddle, it would be considered animal abuse. I'm just saying, why can't it be the same for children? Why can't it be if a child is hit with a wooden paddle, it's considered abuse? It is considered assault. That's exactly what it should be.
In my school, we're not going to have corporal punishment, and I'm thankful and hopeful that that leads to greater changes for my district and my community.
So, what I would say to legislators in Arkansas is that it is time to support a law that bans public schools from administrating school corporal punishment.
It makes me feel sad for the child that the person in charge that they're supposed to feel safe with is now hurting them, most likely for a minor offense.
I hope for a future for Arkansas, for all children to be able to go to schools and not have this threat looming over them that if they make a mistake in the classroom, that they're going to be hit with a wooden paddle behind closed doors with an administrator.
I mean, I mostly feel guilt because I allowed it to happen to my child.
Why aren't we addressing the actual cause of issues in the classroom, which is the classroom's too crowded, there's not enough resources for teachers, there's not enough resources for students. Like, why aren't we addressing those things?
If there was a way to accomplish whatever we think we're accomplishing by hitting kids that didn't cause harm, that didn't involve violence, that didn't replicate the effects of trauma, we should do it. There are practices that are much more compassionate and much more effective than hitting children. So the real issue here is training. And the other issue, of course, is leadership. It's up to our leaders to make sure that we stop brutalizing kids and start doing right by them.
If I had a legislator person sitting in front of me that believed in corporal punishment, that I would just share my son's story about how he no longer felt safe to go to school. He no longer felt safe to share when he was upset at school. He would tell me, I don't want to go, I'm scared to go. And I think just hearing the personal stories of families that were affected in the long term, studying the long-term effects about how it doesn't really change the behavior, would maybe help sway their opinion, hopefully.
Personally, when I think about a child being hit in school, paddled, right, being subjected to use of force with a weapon, frankly, right, with a 24-inch piece of plywood, I am heartbroken. I'm outraged, and I want to put a stop to it.